Have you ever wondered how billionaires truly think? What happens inside those extraordinary minds that build empires while others barely survive? Imagine for a moment having access to the most intimate thoughts of history's wealthiest individuals, decoding the mental blueprint that transforms dreams into million-dollar realities. Today I'll take you on an extraordinary journey to meet two titans, Napoleon Hill, the mentor of millionaire minds who spent over 20 years studying the world's most successful individuals, and John D. Rockefeller, the man who became the richest person in modern history. Together, these two giants reveal the secrets that transform ordinary minds into extraordinary ones, capable of manifesting infinite abundance. This isn't just another video about money. It's a revelation about the transformative power of correct thinking, unwavering faith, and divine purpose. The principles you're about to discover have created more millionaires than any other philosophy in history. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and comment which country you're watching from. This video could mark the beginning of your new story. Who was Napoleon Hill? In a humble wooden cabin in the mountains of Virginia in 1883, a child destined to change humanity's understanding of success was born. Napoleon Hill grew up in extreme poverty, surrounded by hardships that would have crushed the spirit of any ordinary person. His mother died when he was barely 10 years old, and his father struggled to keep together a family devastated by loss and necessity. But in this young man's heart burned an inextinguishable flame, the absolute certainty that a path to something greater existed. At 19, while working as a journalist for mere pennies, Hill received the assignment that would change his life forever, interviewing steel magnate Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie, impressed by the young journalist's insight, made him a proposal that seemed impossible. Would you be willing to dedicate 20 years of your life without guarantee of payment to discover the exact formula for success? Could you interview America's most successful men and distill their secrets into a philosophy that could transform anyone? Without hesitating for a second, Hill accepted. For the following 2 decades, he interviewed over 500 multi-millionaires, including Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, Alexander Graham Bell, and Theodore Roosevelt. He studied their minds, analyzed their habits, decoded their strategies, and most importantly, identified the mental patterns that separated them from the rest of humanity. In 1937, after decades of exhaustive research, Hill published Think and Grow Rich, a book that would become the Bible of personal development and wealth creation. His principles weren't abstract theories, but proven formulas distilled from the brightest minds of his era. Hill discovered that wealth isn't the product of luck, inheritance, or external circumstances. True wealth is born in the mind, nourished by unwavering faith, and materialized through persistent action. As he wrote, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." His legacy transformed millions of lives, and his teachings remain as powerful today as they were nearly a century ago. Napoleon Hill didn't just study the wealthy. He decoded the mental DNA of abundance and shared it with the world. Who was John D. Rockefeller? On a modest farm in New York in 1839, the man who would become the very definition of American wealth was born. John Davison Rockefeller grew up in a family where every penny counted, where his father, a traveling salesman of questionable reputation, would disappear for months at a time, leaving his mother struggling to feed 6 children. But it was precisely in this scarcity that Rockefeller forged the character that would take him to the pinnacle of the world. His mother, Eliza, a woman of unwavering faith, instilled principles that would define his entire life: iron discipline, meticulous saving, and absolute belief that God blesses those who work with divine purpose. At 16, with barely a basic education, Rockefeller landed his first job as a bookkeeper for 50 cents a day. While other young men spent their first earnings, he saved every penny with superhuman discipline. He carried a small red notebook where he recorded every transaction, every income, every expense. This obsession with numbers and financial control would become the cornerstone of his empire. In 1859, at age 20, with barely $1,000 saved from his salary, Rockefeller partnered with Maurice Clark to create a commission business. But his vision already transcended small businesses. When oil was discovered in Pennsylvania, while others saw chaos, he saw infinite opportunity. In 1870, he founded Standard Oil Company with a strategy as bold as it was controversial: control every aspect of the petroleum industry, from extraction to distribution. His philosophy was simple but revolutionary. Competition is a sin. He believed organized cooperation was superior to competitive chaos and built a monopoly that, at its peak, controlled 90% of refined oil in the United States. But Rockefeller wasn't just a ruthless businessman. He was a deeply spiritual man who saw his wealth as divine responsibility. He religiously attended Baptist church every Sunday, taught Sunday school, and donated 10% of his income from his first salary. His faith wasn't just ritual, it was the fuel of his purpose. At the peak of his wealth, Rockefeller possessed a fortune equivalent to over 400 billion current dollars, becoming the richest man in modern history. But his true legacy isn't in what he accumulated, but in what he gave. He created the Rockefeller Foundation, funded the University of Chicago, eradicated diseases worldwide, and transformed modern education and medicine. Rockefeller lived to 97, demonstrating that a disciplined mind, clear purpose, and unwavering faith can create not only wealth, but an eternal legacy that transcends generations. Symbolic meeting between Hill and Rockefeller. Picture a golden autumn afternoon in 1908 in the majestic study of John D. Rockefeller's Kikuit mansion in New York. Oak walls gleam softly under the evening light, filtering through enormous windows, while thousands of books whisper the secrets of centuries of human wisdom. Napoleon Hill, then a 25-year-old journalist with fire in his eyes and hunger for knowledge in his soul, sits across from the world's richest man. Rockefeller, already 69 years old, radiates the serenity of one who has deciphered the deepest mysteries of wealth creation and purpose. Mr. Rockefeller, Hill begins with reverent but determined voice, I've studied the minds of hundreds of successful men, but something tells me you possess a secret that goes beyond business strategies. What's the real difference between those who create empires and those who barely survive? Rockefeller smiles, his blue eyes sparkling with decades of wisdom. He leans back in his leather chair and speaks with the calm cadence of one who has found universal truths. Young Hill, most people seek wealth in the external world, opportunities, contacts, capital, markets, but they're wrong from the start. True wealth is born in a place they cannot see or touch, the human mind. Hill leans forward, capturing every word. The mind? How can something so intangible create something as real as an oil empire? Because, Rockefeller continues, slowly rising and walking to the window, the mind isn't just where ideas are born. It's the battlefield where our destiny is decided. Every day, every hour, every minute, we fight a silent war between two forces: thoughts of abundance and thoughts of scarcity, faith and fear, vision and limitation. The magnate turns toward Hill, his voice now charged with intensity. When I was your age, I was poor, but I never allowed myself to think like a poor person. While others saw obstacles, I saw stepping stones. While others feared failure, I converted it into my teacher. My mind became an impregnable fortress where only thoughts of infinite possibility resided. Hill takes frantic notes, but then stops. Mr. Rockefeller, but how does one train the mind to think in abundance when external reality screams scarcity? A deep smile illuminates the elderly millionaire's face. Ah, there's the secret that will transform your research into something revolutionary. Faith, young Hill. Not just religious faith, though that's fundamental, but scientific faith. The ability to believe in the invisible until it becomes visible, to act as if you already possessed what you desire until the universe has no choice but to give it to you. Rockefeller returns to his seat, his voice now almost a sacred whisper. Every morning for over 50 years, I've begun my day not by reviewing numbers or markets, but by aligning my mind with divine purpose. I tell my mind, today you will be the instrument of infinite abundance. Today you will create value for millions of people. Today you will transform resources into blessings. Hill feels a chill run down his spine. He's witnessing the moment when pieces of the universal puzzle begin to fit together. And the mind responds to that programming? The mind, Rockefeller responds with absolute certainty, is like an infinitely fertile garden. It will produce exactly what you plant in it. If you plant thoughts of poverty, you'll harvest poverty. If you plant thoughts of abundance, you'll harvest abundance. But here's what most don't understand. You must plant those thoughts with the same discipline a farmer plants his crops. Every day, without exception, without doubt, without hesitation. The sun has completely set, and the room is now illuminated by the warm light of a gas lamp. Hill feels he's on the verge of a discovery that will change not only his research, but the way humanity understands success. "One last question, Mr. Rockefeller," Hill says, his voice charged with emotion. "If you could leave one message for future generations, what would it be?" Rockefeller remains silent for a moment, his eyes lost in some infinite point in space. When he finally speaks, each word resonates with the weight of eternity. That they understand they didn't come to this world to be spectators of others' greatness. They came to be co-creators with the divine, to transform thoughts into realities, dreams into empires, visions into eternal legacies. Poverty isn't a curse, it's simply a mind that hasn't awakened to its true power. And that power is waiting patiently inside every human being. In that sacred moment, Hill understands he's not simply writing a book about financial success. He's documenting the universal principles that govern the very creation of reality. Hill's 7 principles that Rockefeller applied. Principle 1. Burning desire. Napoleon Hill discovered that every extraordinary achievement begins with a desire so intense it consumes one's entire being. It's not simple wanting, it's a sacred obsession that transforms the soul and redefines existence. Burning desire, Hill wrote, is the starting point of all achievement. Rockefeller embodied this principle from his earliest youth. At 16, he didn't simply want a job, he yearned to build something that would transcend his existence. His desire wasn't whimsical or superficial. It was an inner flame that consumed him day and night. For weeks, he walked Cleveland's streets seeking employment with determination that amazed those who knew him. When he finally secured his first job as a bookkeeper, his desire evolved. He no longer wanted just to work in business, he wanted to master it. His burning desire became a crystal-clear vision: create a system that would bring light and energy to the entire world through refined petroleum. The secret of burning desire isn't in emotional intensity, but in absolute clarity. Rockefeller could describe exactly what he wanted to achieve, why he wanted it, and how it would benefit humanity. His desire had divine purpose, making it irresistible. To develop your own burning desire, you must ask yourself, what do you truly want to achieve? Why is it important? How will it serve others? When you find those answers and feel them in the depths of your soul, you'll have ignited the flame that will fuel all your other efforts. Principle 2. Faith. Faith, according to Hill, isn't blind hope or superficial positive thinking. It's absolute certainty in the realization of your desires, backed by consistent action. Faith is the eternal elixir that gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought, Hill declared. Rockefeller built his empire on unwavering faith that had 2 dimensions: faith in himself and faith in divine purpose. When others saw the petroleum industry as chaotic and unpredictable, he saw perfect order waiting to be organized. His faith wasn't passive, it was active and transformative. During the 1907 financial crisis, when banks failed and businessmen fled the market, Rockefeller doubled his investments. His faith told him that crises are disguised opportunities for those with vision to see them and courage to act. But Rockefeller's faith had a deep spiritual foundation. He genuinely believed God had called him to be a steward of resources, not merely an accumulator of wealth. This faith gave him supernatural serenity amid market storms. Hill taught that faith develops through repeated autosuggestion. Rockefeller unconsciously practiced this every morning in his devotions, affirming not only his dependence on God, but his role as an instrument of divine abundance. To build unshakable faith, you must daily feed your mind with thoughts that support your objectives. Read biographies of successful people, visualize your goals as already achieved, and consistently act as if your success were inevitable. Principle 3. Auto-suggestion. Hill described auto-suggestion as the technique of communicating with the subconscious mind. All self-applied suggestions that reach the mind through the 5 senses are classified by the conscious mind, he explained. Rockefeller, without knowing the formal term, was a master of auto-suggestion. Every morning he repeated fundamental principles that would guide his daily decisions. They weren't empty affirmations, but purpose declarations charged with emotion and conviction. "I am an instrument of divine abundance," he'd tell himself while shaving. "Today I'll create value for thousands of people," he'd repeat walking to his office. "Every decision I make will be guided by infinite wisdom," he'd affirm before important meetings. But Rockefeller's autosuggestion wasn't just verbal, it was complete sensory experience. He visualized his company's growth, felt the satisfaction of serving more customers, imagined the positive impact of his decisions on future generations. Hill emphasized that autosuggestion must be specific, emotional, and repetitive. Rockefeller wrote his exact financial goals on paper, read them aloud with genuine passion, and reviewed them multiple times daily until they were indelibly engraved in his subconscious. Modern autosuggestion practice requires dedicating at least 10 minutes each morning and evening to programming your subconscious mind with exactly what you want to achieve, why you want it, and when you plan to achieve it. Principle 4. Specialized knowledge. Hill demonstrated that general knowledge doesn't create wealth. Only specialized knowledge, organized and directed toward specific ends, has transformational power. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when organized into definite plans of action. Rockefeller understood this principle intuitively. He didn't try to be an expert in everything. He specialized obsessively in understanding every aspect of the petroleum industry. He studied geology to find the best sources, chemistry to improve refining, logistics to optimize transport, and finance to structure operations most efficiently. But his specialization went beyond technical knowledge. He became the world's greatest expert in petroleum business psychology. He understood his competitors' motivations better than they did themselves, anticipated market fluctuations with supernatural precision, and could negotiate terms benefiting all parties. Rockefeller also understood that specialized knowledge must be constantly updated. He established a market intelligence system that provided him detailed information about every aspect of his industry before any competitor. Hill taught that you can acquire specialized knowledge 4 ways: personal experience, formal education, collaboration with experts, and intensive study. Rockefeller used all 4, but especially emphasized collaboration with brilliant minds that complemented his expertise. To apply this principle today, you must identify exactly what specialized knowledge you need to achieve your objectives, create a systematic plan to acquire it, and constantly update it as your industry evolves. Principle 5. Organized planning. Hill discovered that desires transform into realities only through organized, intelligent, and persistently executed plans. "A goal is just a dream with a deadline," he observed. Rockefeller was a master of strategic planning. He didn't make impulsive decisions. Every move was part of a carefully orchestrated symphony. His plans had multiple levels, short-term objectives building toward medium-term goals, serving a long-term vision. In 1872, when Standard Oil was still a small company, Rockefeller already had a detailed plan to dominate the entire petroleum industry in 20 years. His planning was so meticulous, it included contingencies for every possible obstacle: price fluctuations, aggressive competition, regulatory changes, economic crises. But Rockefeller's plans weren't rigid. They were flexible and adaptive. He established clear objectives, but maintained multiple strategies to reach them. When one route blocked, he immediately activated alternative plans without losing momentum. Hill emphasized that organized planning requires collaboration with expert minds. Rockefeller surrounded his planning with the best available brains: engineers, financiers, lawyers, geologists. His genius wasn't in knowing everything, but in organizing others' knowledge toward common objectives. Rockefeller's plans had another crucial characteristic: they were written in specific detail. They weren't vague ideas, but precise documents with deadlines, necessary resources, assigned responsibilities, and clearly defined success metrics. To master this principle, you must convert every objective into a written plan with specific steps, realistic deadlines, and measurement systems, allowing course correction when necessary. Principle 6. Hill identified that successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly, while people who fail make decisions slowly and change them quickly. Indecision is the seedbed of fear, he warned. Rockefeller was famous for his ability to make complex decisions with extraordinary speed, but only after gathering all available information. Once he decided on a course of action, he followed it with unwavering determination until overwhelming evidence required change. In 1882, when government threatened to break up Standard Oil, many associates wanted to negotiate and make concessions. Rockefeller immediately decided to create a new organizational structure, so innovative it was decades ahead of its time: the modern trust. His quick decision transformed a crisis into revolutionary competitive advantage, but Rockefeller's decisions weren't impulsive. They were based on clearly defined principles. He had specific criteria for evaluating opportunities. Does it serve the customer? Does it create efficiency? Does it build long-term value? Is it aligned with higher purposes? Hill taught that decision-making ability develops by practicing with small decisions and gradually building toward more important ones. Rockefeller began making quick decisions about personal expenses and daily operations, developing confidence for multi-million-dollar decisions. Procrastination in decisions isn't just inefficiency, it's self-sabotage. Every postponed decision is a lost opportunity, a closed door, a limited future. To develop mastery in decision-making, establish clear criteria for evaluating options, gather sufficient but not perfect information, decide quickly and maintain your course until you have compelling evidence to change. Principle 7. Persistence. Hill discovered that persistence is the quality most directly distinguishing winners from losers. Persistence is to character what carbon is to steel, he declared. Rockefeller's persistence was legendary, but it wasn't blind stubbornness. It was intelligent persistence, the ability to maintain the final objective while constantly adapting methods to achieve it. During the 1872 price war, when competitors tried to destroy Standard Oil by reducing prices below cost, Rockefeller persisted for months, losing money daily. While others went bankrupt or surrendered, he maintained his long-term vision, knowing his superior operational efficiency would eventually prevail. But Rockefeller's persistence had a deep spiritual dimension. He believed he was fulfilling divine purpose, and that conviction gave him supernatural strength to overcome obstacles that would have defeated less committed men. Hill identified that authentic persistence requires 4 elements: a definite purpose backed by burning desire, a definite plan expressed in continuous action, a mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences, and a friendly alliance with one or more people who will encourage following the plan and purpose. Rockefeller meticulously cultivated these 4 elements. His purpose was crystal clear, his plans were detailed and evolutionary. He protected his mind from negativity, and he surrounded himself with associates who shared his vision. Persistence isn't passive suffering, it's intelligent and sustained action toward clearly defined objectives, adjusted by feedback but never abandoned for temporary difficulties. The power of the mastermind. In the depths of Napoleon Hill's philosophy lies one of the most powerful and least understood principles of success: the power of the mastermind. Hill defined it as the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between 2 or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. But Hill discovered something revolutionary. When 2 minds work in perfect harmony toward a common objective, they create an invisible third mind more powerful than the sum of its parts. No individual mind can function without the aid of others, he wrote. When a group of individual minds are coordinated and function in harmony, the increased energy created by that alliance becomes available to every individual mind in the group. Rockefeller, without knowing the term mastermind, built his empire instinctively using this principle. From Standard Oil's earliest days, he deliberately surrounded himself with the brightest minds available in every crucial area of his business. His original mastermind included Henry Flagler, a genius in finance and logistics; Samuel Andrews, a brilliant chemist who revolutionized refining; Stephen Harkness, an investor with invaluable political connections; and William Rockefeller, his brother, who mastered international market complexities. But Rockefeller's mastermind was more than a traditional board of directors. It was a collective mind where each member contributed unique expertise toward a shared vision. They met religiously every week, not just to discuss operations, but to generate synergistic ideas none would have conceived individually. Rockefeller understood intuitively that mastermind power isn't in the quantity of minds, but in the quality of harmony between them. He meticulously selected people who weren't just competent, but shared fundamental values and could subordinate personal egos to group good. His mastermind dynamic was fascinating. During meetings, Rockefeller rarely dominated conversations. Instead, he asked penetrating questions that stimulated collective thinking, listened intensely to each perspective, then synthesized the best ideas into cohesive strategies. Hill observed that the most powerful masterminds operate on two levels: economic and psychic. The economic level is obvious. Collaboration of different expertises creates competitive advantages. But the psychic level is where true magic occurs. When compatible minds focus intensely on a common objective, they generate creative energies transcending individual capabilities. Rockefeller's mastermind perfectly exemplified this psychic phenomenon. During strategic planning sessions, innovative solutions frequently emerged that surprised even participants. It was as if superior intelligence was guiding their collective deliberations. But Rockefeller also extended his mastermind concept beyond his inner circle of partners. He cultivated strategic relationships with bankers, politicians, scientists, and other industrial leaders, creating an influence and knowledge network spanning multiple society sectors. Hill identified that the mastermind has exponential multiplying power. One person working alone can achieve certain objectives. Two people in harmony can achieve much more than double. But 3, 4, 5 minds working in perfect coordination can accomplish things that seem impossible for isolated individuals. To create your own mastermind today, you must follow principles Rockefeller applied intuitively. First, clearly define your purpose and specific objectives you want to achieve. Second, identify expertise areas you need and seek competent people in those areas who share your fundamental values. Third, establish regular meetings with specific agenda and disciplined focus. Fourth, create an environment where each member can contribute freely without fear of judgment. Fifth, maintain group harmony by quickly eliminating any source of conflict or negativity. Mastermind power isn't just a business tool, it's a universal creation principle. When harmonious minds unite in common purpose, they become channels of universal creative forces that can materialize extraordinary results. Rockefeller understood that money alone doesn't build lasting empires. Quality human relationships, based on mutual trust and shared vision, create sustainable wealth. His mastermind wasn't an exclusive elite club. It was a collective creation machine where each individual mind was exponentially enhanced. Hill discovered that the most powerful masterminds transcend geographical and temporal barriers. Rockefeller obsessively studied biographies of great past leaders, consulted with cutting-edge scientists, and maintained correspondence with thinkers worldwide. In essence, he had created a mastermind, including both the living and the dead, both present and absent. Today, in our digital era, possibilities for creating powerful masterminds are unlimited. You can virtually connect with global experts, access knowledge from historical geniuses through their works, and form strategic alliances that would have been impossible a century ago. But remember, true mastermind isn't superficial networking or strategic manipulation. It's conscious creation of a collective mind dedicated to noble purposes benefiting all involved and society in general. Higher purpose, beyond money. In the final pages of Think and Grow Rich, Hill reveals a profound truth many readers overlook. Material wealth is only the first step toward deeper human transformation. The true objective of developing a millionaire mind isn't accumulating money, but awakening unlimited potential God planted in every soul. Hill wrote, "Poverty needs no excuse for existing, but wealth must justify its existence by serving humanity constructively." This philosophy was vividly manifested in the second half of John D. Rockefeller's life. When Rockefeller reached the pinnacle of his industrial power, he experienced a deep spiritual crisis. He realized he had dedicated decades to creating wealth, but for what higher purpose? The answer came as a revelation. He had been blessed with extraordinary resources not for personal enjoyment, but to be a steward of divine abundance. Starting in 1897, Rockefeller began radical transformation. The man criticized for ruthless business methods became history's most generous philanthropist. But his philanthropy wasn't impulsive charity. It was strategic investment in humanity's future. He founded the University of Chicago with $80 million, equivalent to over $2 billion today, established the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research that revolutionized modern medicine, and created the Rockefeller Foundation that eradicated tropical diseases in developing countries. Hill observed that when Rockefeller aligned his wealth with higher purpose, his capacity to generate more wealth multiplied exponentially. It wasn't coincidence. It was the universal law of reciprocity in action. When you give generously to elevate others, the universe conspires to elevate you. Rockefeller's investment in education and science generated immeasurable returns for all humanity. Scientists trained in his universities discovered disease cures, developed revolutionary technologies, and educated generations of leaders who continued expanding the service legacy. But Hill discovered something even deeper. When Rockefeller began serving with his wealth, he experienced personal transformation. Money alone never could have bought. He found inner peace, transcendent purpose, and spiritual connection with universal creative forces. True wealth, Hill wrote, isn't measured by what you accumulate but by what you contribute, not by what you receive, but by what you give, not by your bank account size, but by the positive impact you generate in the world. This is the question that must resonate in your heart today. Why do you want to be rich? If your answer is only to buy things, travel, or impress others, your motivation is too small to sustain the effort required to create true wealth. But if your answer includes serving your family with excellence, creating jobs that dignify lives, financing causes that transform communities, or leaving a legacy inspiring future generations, then you have motivation that can move mountains. Hill taught that higher purpose acts as a spiritual magnet, attracting resources, opportunities, and people toward your vision. When your why is bigger than your obstacles, you develop unshakable persistence that converts impossible dreams into inevitable realities. Rockefeller expressed it beautifully in his later years. God gave me my money. Having received this gift, I had another responsibility. Use this money to benefit humanity. This wasn't false modesty. It was genuine recognition that true wealth comes from sources superior to our individual effort. The final secret of the billionaire mind. After decades studying history's most successful minds, Napoleon Hill synthesized his findings into a simple but revolutionary formula for developing what he called the billionaire mind. This formula isn't theoretical. It's practical, proven, and accessible to anyone willing to apply it with discipline and faith. The final secret combines four essential elements functioning in perfect synergy: unshakable faith, strategic thinking, daily discipline, and massive action. When these four pillars align in your life, they create an irresistible force, transforming dreams into tangible realities. Unshakable faith is the foundation upon which all lasting wealth is built. It's not blind hope or superficial optimism. It's deep conviction based on universal success principles. Rockefeller developed this faith from early youth when he decided not to accept poverty as his permanent destiny. His faith wasn't based on current circumstances, but on his clear vision of what he could become. Hill discovered that true faith operates as a mental frequency, tuning your consciousness to opportunities others cannot perceive. When you have absolute faith in your capacity to achieve specific objectives, your subconscious mind begins automatically working to identify resources, connections, and strategies materializing that vision. Strategic thinking is the capacity to see patterns, connections, and possibilities escaping less developed minds. Rockefeller didn't get rich by luck or working harder than others. He got rich because he thought differently than others. While competitors focused on daily operations, he visualized integrated systems that would dominate entire industries. Strategic thinking requires mental discipline to rise above immediate problems and perceive long-term opportunities. It's the difference between reacting to circumstances and creating circumstances. Strategic thinkers don't ask, "What's happening?" but "What's going to happen?" and position themselves to benefit from future trends. Daily discipline is what transforms mental potential into concrete financial results. Hill observed that all great fortunes are built through small, consistent actions performed over prolonged periods. Rockefeller developed daily routines, optimizing his energy, focus, and productivity toward specific objectives. Discipline isn't painful sacrifice. It's intelligent investment of time and energy in activities generating exponential returns. Every hour you invest developing valuable skills. Every day you dedicate to building strategic relationships. Every week you employ perfecting your business vision compounds into extraordinary long-term results. Massive action is the catalyst converting mental plans into physical realities. Hill discovered that knowledge without application is sterile, but knowledge applied with sustained intensity is omnipotent. Rockefeller didn't just think big, he acted big, took calculated risks and implemented strategies with speed and implacable determination. Massive action doesn't mean frantic activity without direction. It means concentrated and intelligent effort directed towards specific objectives with intensity that intimidates competition. When you combine vision clarity with execution speed, you create competitive advantages difficult to replicate. But here's the deepest secret Hill discovered. These four elements don't function linearly but exponentially. Faith multiplies strategic thinking effectiveness. Strategic thinking directs and enhances daily discipline. Daily discipline builds capacity to sustain massive action. And massive action generates results reinforcing faith, creating a virtuous cycle of accelerated growth. To develop your billionaire mind starting today, implement these 3 practical exercises designed by Hill. Exercise 1. Morning Faith Declarations. Every morning, during the first 30 minutes after waking, recite your specific financial objectives aloud as if they were present realities. Don't say, "I want to be a millionaire." Say, "I am a prosperous person who wisely manages abundant resources to bless my family and serve my community." Vividly visualize how your ideal financial life looks, feels, and is experienced. This exercise programs your subconscious mind to recognize and attract opportunities aligned with your vision. Exercise 2. Higher Purpose Visualization. Every afternoon, dedicate 20 minutes to specifically visualizing how you'll use your future wealth to positively impact other people's lives. Clearly see the jobs you'll create, educational scholarships you'll finance, charitable organizations you'll support, the legacy you'll build. This visualization connects your personal ambition with transcendent purposes, multiplying your motivation and energy. Exercise 3. Disciplined Daily Action. Every day, without excuses or exceptions, perform at least one specific action, bringing you closer to your financial objectives. It could be making a strategic call, reading a business book chapter, developing a valuable skill, or building an important relationship. The key is absolute consistency. Small daily actions compound into extraordinary annual results. Conclusion: it's not what you have, it's how you think. Brother, sister, if you've made it this far, something powerful is awakening within your spirit. During these minutes together, we've journeyed through the deepest secrets of minds that transformed not only their personal destinies, but the course of human history. Napoleon Hill spent 25 years of his life distilling success essence into principles anyone can apply. John D. Rockefeller demonstrated those principles work when combined with unshakable faith and massive action. And you, at this moment, have access to the same transformational knowledge that created humanity's greatest empires. Wealth isn't luck. Wealth isn't inheritance. Wealth isn't exclusive privilege of a few. Wealth is trained mind functioning with eternal purpose. It's conscious decision to think, feel, and act as prosperous people think, feel, and act. Your current situation doesn't determine your future destiny. Today's bank account doesn't define tomorrow's potential. The only thing determining your financial future is the quality of your thoughts and consistency of actions aligned with eternal prosperity principles. God planted seeds of greatness in your soul. The universe conspires to support noble visions backed by faith and action. You have within you everything necessary to create the extraordinary life you deserve and your family needs. If this message ignited a spark within you, comment, "I activate my billionaire mind." Share this video with someone who needs it. Subscribe to the channel for more transformational content, and may God bless you with wisdom and infinite abundance. Your prosperity isn't coincidence. It's consequence of decisions you make today. Choose to be great.